Too Much Information is a production of iHeart Radio. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Too Much Information, the show that brings you the little-known facts and secret history behind your favorite movies, music, TV shows, and more. We are your divas of detail. Yeah, that'll do it. I was going to do more, but that's fine. My name's Jordan Runtagh.
And I'm Alex Heigl.
And, you know, folks, we don't talk about this enough on this show. I know I'm sort of known as the honorary boomer of TMI with all the talk about the Beatles and the Beach Boys, and I'm doing a new show on the Rolling Stones. But secretly, not many of you know this, I'm a pop fanatic. I guess you saw a little bit of that in the Barbie Girl episode. One of the great joys of beginning my life as an entertainment journalist and being forced to engage with contemporary pop culture for the first time was that it turned me on to some truly great pop music. And I have this pet theory, Heigl, I'm interested to hear what you have to say about this, that 2007 to 2014 was a golden era for pop. It was a period that I kind of roughly bookend between Rihanna's Umbrella and Taylor Swift's 1989 album. You've got Teenage Dream with Katy Perry and its record-tying 5 number ones. That's up there with Michael Jackson's Thriller. You've got those great early Gaga records. You've got Miley Cyrus and her pre-Dead Pets Party in the USA, 7 Things I Hate About You era. You've got David Guetta. You've got Beyonce's 1-2 punch with Sasha Fierce and 4, which has got Love on Top, which is my favorite Beyonce song. Rihanna's truly peerless string of singles like Only Girl in the World and S&M. I've gone into a fugue state and I forget what this episode's about. But what do you think about that theory? I think it's a pop golden era.
Which of those things doesn't belong? Why did you put David Guetta in there?
He has this great song with Kelly Rowland called When Love Takes Over, and it's incredible.
I mean, I think your theory holds water. I think 2014 is interesting because to me, that's sort of the year when dubstep takes over and like everything starts having like drops. And, you know, obviously you mentioned Rihanna and the Calvin Harris thing is in there. But yeah, that's when, to me, you really start getting the EDM influence and everything that wasn't necessarily there before.
It's right. That's the year, I think, around when like the Justin Bieber song that I hate with Skrillex, I think.
Is Sorry or the other one?
Yeah, I know. One of those. The one he
Sorry's
did with,
the only Justin Bieber song I actually like. That song.
I hate that song. Or what's it? Where Are You?
I forget. I
hate it so much that I don't even know the title. But yeah, no, I agree with that. And what's that song? Omni, Cheerleader.
I mean, they all blended together for me for a while. There's like Marshmello, there's fucking Deadmau5. Like, I don't think Deadmau5 had any pop hits, but that all sort of blended into the melange of like white men standing behind things, pressing play on a laptop to a bunch of flashing lights that had that really. I mean, I mostly remember people like flipping out over Skrillex, but to get back to your original point, yes, I think it's interesting. I think it's also. It's an interesting timeline because it also sort of gets out of the teen pop era and into like and this sort of, I mean, the Katy Perry stuff is kind of the last gasp of the Swedes' domination, right? Because now we're getting into like auteurist female pop with your like Lady Gagas and your Beyoncés, where they're these like self-contained visual and musical units. I mean, not self-contained. Beyonce has 30 people credits on a song, but you take my meaning. There's no seeds, which is my only criteria.
We're in a Swedeless existence.
Yeah. But yeah, that's and it's interesting because you start seeing the co-writing landscape become a little diluted after 2014. Like the dominance of the aforementioned, let's just call it the Swedish school, mostly because like, oh, you forgot Kesha in there. But mostly because, you know, Dr. Luke was canceled and God love her. I think Taylor Swift really changed a lot of it by being, you know, her own writer and then on the strength of that, enlisting producers to augment her vision, you know. But yeah, I mean, like then God help us, then we get into the Antonoff era.
How much do you hate Jack Antonoff because you frequently get mistaken for him? It's not a bad thing. I was taping something the other day on Zoom, and somebody said, "Oh my God, you're Tim the Toolman Taylor's associate on Tool Time, Richard Karn."
Yeah,
Al.
I mean, Antonov to me is a perfect storm of like personal unlikability and aesthetic choices. That Caleb Gammon video where he goes down every new song on the new record and is like, that's Jack, that's Jack, that's Jack.
Within a nanosecond.
Yeah, well, it really crystallized everything I hate about his production style. And then the Beatles, that Help cover he put out, or what was it? Hard Day's Night?
Hard Day's Night, yeah. He's like on a bus for some reason, yeah.
Yeah, the Bleachers thing. I mean, in the annals of like counterintuitive, let's completely rearrange the song covers, it's interesting.
But it's not. There's nothing interesting. It's a guitar, bass, and drums. The only thing that's interesting about it is that it's on a bus.
Look, I know. I'm saying in the annals of taking a cover and reimagining it in a way that will not suggest anything about the original, that is, it has earned its place in there. Objectively, it is a piece of shit.
But I disagree. I think the only thing that's, I think we're in a post. Let's cover a song in a weird way, maybe because of movie trailers where you just slow down a happy pop song with low piano
ominous
notes.
Bass register, single piano note.
Yeah, I mean, now I think it's just like, oh, we're just going to do the song kind of like it was. Maybe slightly different tempo. I don't know. I think that he did nothing interesting with that song, which is keeping in his theme.
I liked the saxophone. Yeah, no, I that was a fool's error. That was a rookie mistake of me to bring up the Beatles. Anyway,
but yes,
Britney Spears.
I love pop. I love Swedish era pop. Really, I mean, the honorary Swede pop queen of the music world. Could you say that about Britney Spears? I'm getting into dangerous territory here. But
I think you could. Yeah.
I mean, Hit Me Baby One More Time is
shot across the bow of the Swedish invasion.
Is there a bigger Swedish pop song, like a pop song that was written / produced by Swedish people? I mean,
one of the NSYNC ones, or
maybe, or ABBA. If you're doing global sales, but
yeah,
no. But I do love Britney Spears, and she is back in the news these days for some not great reasons. So we've decided to take a celebratory tact. Unfortunately, we miscalculated a little bit by choosing to look at one of the most maligned pieces of media that she's ever been involved with. Her 2002 film, Crossroads.
And one that has disappeared from memory, unless you have a DVD rip of this or you're watching a pirated copy. It apparently does not exist online.
Same with Spice World, too. I don't know if there was just some kind of weird rights issues with the 90s record industry, or if it was just, this is bad, we were young, now we have a lot of money and we're older and have more control over our lives, right, and we don't want this out there. So
Justin and Kelly forever.
Stalin-esque purge of Crossroads and Spice World from digital streaming services, which is a shame because...
Jordan. Putin-esque.
Putin-esque.
There's a new guy. There's a new sheriff in town.
I have to hold on to some of my boomer tendencies. Yeah, prefer my dictator's vintage, please. But yes, Crossroads, 2002, Britney's one and only starring role, released at the height of her fame, shortly after she dropped her third album, Britney, in 2001. I think that's my favorite Britney Spears album. That's the one with Slave for You and Overprotected. That album did a lot better than Crossroads, which is sort of universally accepted as not a tremendous piece of work. But, I wouldn't hold Britney accountable for that because it's a weird movie. It's a weird choice, I should say, for a teen pop star to make her feature film debut because it gets very dark and serious at points. It centers around Britney Spears' character, Lucy Wagner, I believe is her name, and her childhood friends. They take a cross-country road trip to Los Angeles, and along the way, they tackle issues of teen pregnancy, parental abandonment, fear of getting murdered, burgeoning sexuality, and they do some karaoke, which is fun. So you've never seen this. I know last night you were trying to look it up and you were unable to find it.
Yeah. I mean, I had no reason to.
Fair. Well, I watched it in high school because a girl I liked it, and
there it is.
I said I would go watch it with her. So, but it's a intense movie.
It's a weird time capsule. I mean, you look at the cast: Zoe Saldana, Taryn Manning, Dan Aykroyd, Kim Cattrall, Justin Long, Cool Mo D. cameos as a bar owner. It is bizarre. Bowling for Soup is in this movie.
Dan Aykroyd was like the official movie dad of the 90s. I really want to pull up. I mean, maybe I'm just thinking of My Girl, but I feel like he was the dad in, let's see here. I guess maybe there were two My Girls. North, you know what? Now I'm looking at this. It's not as many as I thought.
Strike that.
No, strike that. Reverse it. Yeah, Britney herself has described Crossroads by saying, it's, quote, about this journey that the three of us best friends take, finding ourselves and what we want out of life and getting our friendship back. Friends are all you have at the end of the day. When your boyfriend breaks up with you, who do you call? Ghostbusters. Dan Aykroyd. Your girlfriend. That's who. I just love that message. So that is very sweet. Well, from the surprising scribe between Britney's debut to the admirably hands-on role she had while working on the script, her adorably humble culinary demands during the shoot, and the surprising role that Robert De Niro had in rounding out the cast, here is everything you didn't know about Crossroads starring Britney Spears. Appropriately enough, Crossroads is a group effort from a huge number of talented women. The movie was produced by Ann Carley, who had just left Jive Records, which is famously Britney Spears' record label, to pursue a career in film. And she took a job at Will Smith's production company, Will Smith Enterprises, and it was there that she came across a spec script written by a then-unknown writer named Shonda Rhimes. Yes, before she gave the world Grey's Anatomy, Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder, and Bridgerton, Rhimes got her big break writing Crossroads, which was her first major screenwriting credit. I think she worked on a made-for-TV movie about the life of Dorothy Dandridge, starring Halle Berry, but this was her first big screen project. But this spec script was sadly not an early version of Crossroads. It was an adaptation of Sophocles' ancient Greek tragedy Antigone, set in an African-American town in the 1930s. And Ann Carley was extremely impressed with this script. She later said, the writing shook me. It was so good. And she tried to get this movie off the ground, but to no avail. So then she turned to Shonda and said what producers have said to writers since time immemorial when things weren't going well. What do you think about Britney Spears?
That must have just put a very specific dagger in Shonda Rhimes' heart. An adaptation of Antigone set in a pre-civil rights southern town, and someone turns and goes, what do you think about turning this into a Britney vehicle?
Given Ann's connection to Britney via Jive Records, it makes sense that she'd want to pursue some sort of project with her. By this point, in, I'd say 2000, 2001, Britney had sent the music industry a light with two #1 albums, Baby One More Time and Oops, I Did It Again, and was in the midst of recording her third album, Britney. And Ann Carley, she'd apparently seen Britney's appearance on SNL and was so impressed that she felt Britney had a potential for a crossover career like Will Smith. I'm surprised she was surprised because she had the whole Mickey Mouse Club background. Like, she was made for that kind of sketch environment, which, to be fair, is probably where she should have stayed. Sketches and song and dance. I don't know. Britney, at this point, she hadn't been in any movies other than a cameo as a flight attendant in the 2001 comedy Long Shot, written by now disgraced boy band impresario Lou Pearlman. He supposedly wrote it as a vehicle for his acts. I had never heard of this movie. It looks almost like a direct-to-DVD release. Features a score by Lalo friggin' Schifrin. Mission Impossible theme and all these other great movie themes.
Lalo
Schifrin got that favor.
He seems like a real, like,
I'll do it. Yeah, sure, I'll do it.
Yeah, is the check coming through?
Yeah.
Great.
The Michael Caine of movie scores. But Shonda apparently, at least out loud, was not offended by the "what about Britney" suggestion. She was impressed with Britney's stage presence, telling Vice for their incredible Crossroads retrospective called "Not a Hit, Not Yet a Cult Classic." I remember being 17 and going to see Madonna in concert and feeling the same way when I saw Britney. So Ann Carley and Shonda Rhimes decided to pursue creating a road movie with Britney as the star. And when Carley approached her former boss, the founder of Jive Records, Clive Calder, about casting Britney in a film, he said, "Hey, if she wants to do it, I'll pay for it." And he would ultimately pony up some $10 million, which is sort of unheard of. I guess maybe he had his eye to a soundtrack deal or something, but yeah, it's kind of nuts to just bankroll that. And then they got a then nascent MTV Films involved, which seems like kind of a good idea. It's a nice synergy there. And Carly paid them a visit, and as luck would have it, MTV Films were in the midst of trying to develop an idea for Britney themselves. Kind of genius, kind of terrible. In the words of Spinal Tap, there's such a fine line between stupid and clever. It's a musical update of Alice in Wonderland that would star Britney, presumably as Alice, and feature other hot pop acts of the era, including NSYNC and I believe Backstreet Boys. Can we fantasy cast this for a moment?
Oof, yeah.
Joey Fatone is the caterpillar. I mean, obviously.
I was gonna have the tattooed ones. AJ McLean and Chris Fitzpatrick are Tweedledee and Tweedledum.
Oh, that's good.
Obviously,
that's good. Okay, I was gonna say AJ McLean is the dormouse because he always seems like I don't know, kind of sleepy. Who's the Cheshire Cat?
Oh,
Lance.
That's generous. Justin Timberlake.
Oh, there's got to be a bigger role for Justin. Is there not? Maybe not.
There's so much, but there's so much screen time for the Cheshire, and Justin has actually acted more than anyone else that we've just mentioned. So,
who would be the Queen of Hearts? Is Christina Aguilera? Is that too easy?
Oh yeah, it is. But it would have been the move, or Pink. If Irving Azoff was asking for like 20 mil a picture for Christina at that point, which he would have.
Yeah. So sadly or mercifully, they decided that a road movie with Britney Spears was a better bet than this musical version of Alice in Wonderland, and it was scrapped, which I'm still sad about. Also, I don't know why I find this so funny. To get a little more scratch for her movie, Anne Carly got product placement deals with Pepsi, with whom Britney famously had a deal, and Herbal Essences. They both make appearances in Crossroads.
Herbal Essences throwing out that 2000s money. My favorite... one of my favorite bands is Rancid, and the
no idea where you're going with this.
Well, the lead singer of Rancid, Tim Armstrong, had a side project with Travis Barker called Transplants, and one of their songs was the theme song to the Herbal Essences commercials for a campaign, which was like such a hilarious confluence of stuff. It has one of my all-time favorite lyrics from Tim Armstrong, which is bombs going off in the Sierra Leone, dropping more shots than Karl Malone.
Oh, that's good. I do like that.
Anyway, there's my sidebar. Much like the Beatles, I have to bring up Rancid as much as possible.
You don't do it anywhere near as much as I do the Beatles and the Beach Boys, I will say, to your credit.
Well, I'll work harder.
Yes.
That's my note going forward.
We've had some notes from the network. Heigl, he doesn't mention the Bay Area punk scene enough. Can we try to work that? Just when it's natural.
It came up organically.
So all this meant approaching Britney and her mother and her, I think, then manager. I don't know if he still manages her, Larry Rudolph, which that cannot have been a fun task, and pitching her the idea of some sort of road movie. And Britney, or at least her team, agreed to do it, provided that she take a fairly active role in working out the script. And in every report I've read, this seemed to transcend mere script approval, and it's kind of veered into full-scale collaboration with Shonda Rhimes. Or they were just a lot better at spin back in 2002. I don't want to do a movie that talks down to my peers, Britney said. I talked to Shonda and told her what I wanted the movie to be about, and she elaborated on it. It was my little project. When you do a movie, I think you have to be really passionate about it. I was having lots of offers, but this is something my heart was into. She would later clarify that she had a lot of input into the characters and what they were going through, but the storyline was mostly Shonda's doing. She also insisted that any profanities be removed from the script, which I find adorable, very fitting. Shonda would later say that the experience of meeting Britney went a long way in inspiring the direction of the film. She elaborated in her interview with Vice, I was much more interested in the young woman that I met than the image that people had of her. She was a person, and I don't think anyone at that time was looking at her as a person, because it's such a misogynistic society. The idea that we could portray her as a three-dimensional young woman was interesting to me. To have mean-girled her and turned her into a caricature would have been a mistake. But it's a very... This makes me wonder if they were almost trying to go the, like, Eminem route and have it be like kind of gritty and kind of like, oh, this is where she came from? Because the plot of the movie, Heigl, give us a quick rundown of the plot of the movie, just to remind everyone how truly dark it was.
Yeah, it's kind of insane looking back at it. You know, the quick thumbnail sketch is that it follows 3 young women on a road trip with a strange man who may or may not be a murderer. And during the trip, each of them gets a sort of movie of the week trauma forced on them. Lucy, the Britney Spears character, confronts the mother who abandoned her 18 years ago. Zoe Saldana's character, Kit, discovers her fiancé has not only cheated on her, but raped her best friend, Mimi, who is on the trip. Mimi had become pregnant, but lost her child while fleeing her rapist.
Well, pregnant due to the aforementioned...
The rape, yeah. Good God.
Yeah.
All of it punctuated by a delightful performance of I Love Rock and Roll.
I do have to wonder if this was some kind of like, you know, I mean, not only to show her range, but also like, oh, maybe people like 8 Mile is a thinly disguised version of Eminem. Maybe they thought like, oh, this is the version of the world that people think Britney came from because it was filmed near her hometown. And I
will say that the New York Magazine had that incredible Jamie Spears like deep dive a few months back, and his family tree is like Southern Gothic, so this is like not far off. Like his grandfather killed his grandmother, and his mother committed suicide. Like it really gets into like Cormac McCarthy territory. I don't think that's exact details, but look it up. It's a New York Magazine feature. Really incredible reporting. But yeah, I mean, it does presage some of the horrific gut punches that Shonda's work on Craze and Scandal and so forth would take. But, you know, the funnier part of this thought experiment, if anything about all of these things can be deemed funny, is Britney Spears pitching this, like just sitting there tapping a ballpoint pen against her teeth. Like, what if my friend, I'm not even going to finish that sentence, but just imagine her in the writer's room, like Diet Coke cans scattered all over, really late night, that empty Chinese delivery containers, and they're just
Frappuccino plastic cups.
Yeah, big whiteboard with a bunch of ideas like incest ? Crossed out. And that's the late night scene I'd really like to paint for you.
Well, this brings us to another question. If not this Southern Gothic soap opera movie of the week, very special episode after school special, what are some other road movies that Britney and her team could have remade?
I'd love to have seen a remake of the classic 1970s drug running movie Vanishing Point, which was memorably, of course, adapted for the Audio Slave video Show Me How to Live, I think. That's the movie where a guy has to run a large quantity of crank across the country. And spoiler alert, it ends with him ramming his car into a police barricade. She really could have made a meal out of that. You had some others.
Yeah, I would have gone with Easy Rider, and then you could have gotten Christina Aguilera as the Dennis Hopper role.
But they weren't really like bitter rivals in that movie. They were like bros, right?
I know. Think of how great that would have been if like you had the professional rivals try to be, you know, partners in a movie. It would have been you would have had that sizzle.
That classic crackling.
It's like heat. Think of how good that would be. This, once again, anyone listening, I fully intend to pitch the iHeart People show where it's Heigl and I pitching sequels. I forget, I had a working title for that show too. In our Titanic episode, we spent like a half hour on Titanic sequels.
Pitching Jack,
yeah, Happy Jack, yeah, and he is Jack the Ripper. That's the reason he gets on the Titanic, is that he's Jack the Ripper, and the law's getting too close. They're closing in, and he's fleeing. It's so good. I like your pitch for Natural Born Killers with Freddie Prinze Jr. as Woody Harrelson. But it really should have been Justin Timberlake. If you had Justin Timberlake and Britney as the who's the annoying chick who I don't like.
Julie
have to
something.
narrow it down. Juliette Lewis.
Yeah, her.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I don't like her.
Scientology?
I don't like her presence on screen.
For legal reasons, I just want to say, I didn't say, do you not like her because she's a Scientologist? I just said the word Scientology.
Whatever. Moving on.
Britney Spears and Rain Man.
Yeah. What would she 2 minutes to TRL? 2 minutes to TRL. 2 minutes to TRL.
She's
God,
just really into Diet Coke.
I would give my right pinky to see Britney peak fame Britney pull off a Rain Man turn. Holy shit.
Can we keep that? I really want to keep that.
Do it. That's the one you keep. Only if she doesn't she keeps her accent, so it's like 2 minutes to TRL, y'all. As you meditate on that, we'll be right back with more Too Much Information after these messages. Shonda Rhimes admitted to feeling bad for Britney. She would say, I think it really was for me a lesson in fame. I really did get to see what extreme fame was like close up and how to cope with it, how to protect my cast against it, and how to be prepared for the problems that come when it happens to people in your cast. A lot of people associated with the production reported feeling that way, that they set about trying to make the shooting set something of a refuge from Spears' mega fame and the constant media scrutiny that came with it. According to producer Ann Carley, this was helped by the predominance of women associated with the production. She denied she was trying to make any particular political statement with that casting, stalking, hiring choice. She told a reporter, I just hired the best people for this particular job. When the script was finished, Carly brought in her friend Tamara Davis, a young director who is most famous for giving Drew Barrymore her post-child star breakthrough Gun Crazy. Gun Crazy. Anyone?
Checking that. A teenager murders her stepfather, a sexually abusive man, after he teaches her how to use a gun. Through a misapplied school pen pal assignment, she meets a prisoner, Howard, whom she seduces back into the world of guns. She marries Howard and decides to show him the remains of her stepfather. Howard helps her dispose of the body. After they dispose of the corpse, Howard commits several homicides, although he was provoked in every incident. Huh.
What the
Wow.
Who plays Howard?
James LaGrosse? I don't know.
Nope, none of that. No. Wow. Jesus Christ. All right, Tamara Davis. Davis told Vice they really wanted a female director because this was going to be Britney's first movie, and they really wanted to make sure she was protected and taken care of. Davis was initially hesitant to work with Spears, but she changed her mind after meeting her in Las Vegas. In part, she was blown away by Spears' power as an on-stage performer and creative force. I loved watching her be in the center of the circle, and there wasn't a guy in there telling her what to do. She was in command of the whole thing. But they made a private connection later when Davis paid her a visit at her hotel suite. I knocked on her hotel room door, and she opened it up, and she was wearing like a little pink t-shirt and little shorts, and she was just hilarious. She opened the door, and she was like, man, I was hammered last night. I was like, what? You're Britney Spears, and you were hammered last night? She was like, the funniest, really good girlfriendy type of girl. That quote has taken on an alarming pall in recent years.
Tamara Davis was married to Mike D from the Beastie Boys.
Aw.
Yeah.
With authenticity as the casting edict, production team assembled Britney's crew of friends, specifically the ones who were not blonde. For example, Melissa Joan Hart was considered for the part of Mimi, which was later played by Taryn Manning, but just too blonde. Shonda later said,
It's a little too into Shirley Temple.
That's the weirdest celebrity wrinkle I can think of. Well, no, it's not. There's weirder stuff, but it's so specific.
Well, we're gonna have another show that I'm pitching to iHeart. We're gonna do Stump the Buff the series.
Stop giving our ideas away.
No, it's verbal copyright. I'm protecting ourselves. It's a recording of it. We can prove that people that we had these ideas on a certain date when we published the episode. Yeah, so we're gonna invite celebrities on who are really into things that are like, Jason Segel with the Muppets and Nicolas Cage with Elvis and maybe Melissa Joan Hart with Shirley Temple. And I'm gonna ask them quiz questions about it. And in between rounds, Heigl's going to interview them and ask them like actual thoughtful questions. So it's a great show. We got a lot of great feedback from Stump the Buff.
if it gets picked up, yeah.
And while we're addressing people, or me, I guess I'm doing this. While I'm addressing people who have reached out to us and said things to us, which is very nice. Thank you. We had somebody ask, why do you bother doing the censor bleeps? I'll explain. When we first started doing this show,
we had ad sales.
Well, we do have ad sales. No, there were a lot of shows where that were kind of geared towards young parents, basically. A lot of the Disney episodes and stuff. And we wanted them to be able to listen to these podcasts when they were driving around in the car, driving their kids to and from school and stuff like that. So that was why.
It's funnier with bleeps too. Sorry,
we don't have a very funny bleep though. You know what I mean? There's something about the sound quality of our censor beep that's not very funny to me.
We should insert it with isolated audio of Paul McCartney going woo.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. Anyway, Shonda later said it wasn't that it was important to show people from diverse backgrounds. It just felt like the movie should look normal. Most movies didn't look normal. They all looked oddly homogenous in a way that didn't feel realistic to me. Zoe Saldana and Taryn Manning were chosen because they seemed like real girls. Otherworldly beauty Zoe Saldana looked like someone you'd find in... whatever, not going there. So beautiful. She's literally most famous for playing an alien at this point. And they were like, yeah, she's realistic looking. At the time, they were both fairly unknown. Zoe flew out to audition on her agent's air miles. And she's not even the only future MCU star in Crossroads. It also features a 13-year-old Brie Larson. Zoe Saldana always had lovely things to say about Britney, especially in the wake of her troubled period. During a 2014 appearance on Watch What Happens Live, Saldana defended Britney's use of autotune, saying she was the one big celebrity I met when I was starting to work in Hollywood who literally was humble. Britney thanked her by tweeting, "Truly the sweetest. Thanks for the kind words. Nothing but great memories of working with you. Crossroads Part 2, winky face."
She tweets like Prince.
She is an amazing user of social media. I love her so much. She was on Pacific time, so when I was working the evening shift at Page 6, every time she would Instagram something wacky, I was...
came to you.
Yeah, right down to my desk. So I got very acquainted with Britney's style of posting. Taryn Manning,
like a 1920s style newspaper editor, printing out a picture of one of her Instagrams, just slamming it down on your desk.
Yeah,
Heigl.
No, that was basically it. Except it was like my two editors slacking me, being like, "She did it again." It was either posted a nude or like said that she was gonna like gut her sister like a fish. No, she never said that. But no, but there was a lot of
something.
There was a lot of There's been when her emancipation stuff was proceeding, she became very bold in slamming her garbage family, as she well should have. Taryn Manning, meanwhile, famously came from a not dissimilar upbringing to the Southern Gothic plot of this movie. She was raised by a single mother in an Arizona trailer park. She would later say, "My mom didn't buy herself a new pair of shoes and a new outfit until I moved out. Literally, when I asked my mom for $1, I got $1 single. Presumably, she drew on this upbringing for her character's horrific backstory of becoming pregnant as a teen after getting raped at a party, planning to put the baby up for adoption, and then losing the baby. Once again, cannot stress how wild the plot of this movie actually is." Speaking of Spears' terrible garbage family, the younger version of Britney Spears' character was played by her younger sister, 10-year-old Jamie Lynn Spears, who, in the grand tradition of celebrity navel-gazing, is named after both of her parents. Jamie went on to pursue acting on Nickelodeon after this, but her career was put on pause after all that creator and disgraced Nickelodeon bigwig Dan Schneider got her pregnant at the age of 16.
For legal reasons, that's pure speculation. But has he been is he officially done, or are people just writing not nice articles about? Yeah.
I mean,
has he been?
I don't think it
yet?
would affect him if he was. He's probably got more residual payments than like oil barons. Doesn't look like anyone legitimately has come after him. The last one that wasn't from like Distractify and Pop Sugar was LA Times in August 2022.
Well, in happier news, Bowling for Soup. Friend of the pod, Bowling for Soup. The band were featured in Crossroads because they were also associated with Britney's label, Jive Records, but they never actually met her during the production because they were only on the set for 2 days. On the first day, they were too hungover, and on the second day, Britney was away. Sidebar on their name, which I went down as I was writing this episode this morning and found myself curious. Their name apparently comes from a Steve Martin comedy routine about a game show called Bowling for Shit. But their parents, they were worried that their grandparents would get mad if they saw a flyer with profanity on it, so they swapped out a few letters. And according to band lore, the band are bowling to earn soup, not on behalf of soup.
I always assumed it was. Yeah, I don't think I ever thought it was. They were in the pocket of the powerful soup lobby.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Back in the day, there was the show was it Bowling for Dollars, I think. I'm gonna look that up right now. I'm just gonna burn airtime.
Who gives a shit? Whatever.
Dollars. Yeah, Bowling for Dollars is a television game show in which people could play the sport of bowling to win cash and sometimes prizes based on how well they bowled. I would have cleaned up at this. Each contestant received $1 for each pin knocked down. Oh, it's a bummer. Wow.
All right, here we go.
Where are we? Okay. Oh,
I don't remember.
well, speaking of which, Kim Cattrall.
Back in the news for her probably extraordinarily highly paid cameo in the second season of And Just Like That.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out like what the deal is with the feud there because I just kind of missed out on all that.
They just hate each other. I don't know if it's Sarah Jessica Parker or I don't know who's the pain in the ass there, but obviously I'm Team Kim because she was in Big Trouble in Little China.
And she was born in Liverpool. So it's both of our favorite things.
Yeah.
Beatles and Big Trouble in Little China.
But yeah, the check they must have cut her to, because there was, they hate each other.
I Googled this morning thinking that I could do a quick recap for this episode. Just a blatant attempt to pad it out.
Russian novel.
Vogue result has a 48 slideshow with a paragraph for each documenting their feud back to the early 2000s. So I tapped out of that. But if you're interested, Vogue apparently has you covered. We mentioned Kim Cattrall because she plays the estranged mother of Britney Spears' character. Kim would later say she only took this gig in Crossroads because she wanted to meet Britney, and Britney was also very thrilled when she learned of the casting because she was reportedly a huge Sex and the City fan. And I guess Kim's co-stars on Sex and the City were very happy for her because they were also massive Britney fans. So, mutual admiration society. In fact, there was a rumor in, I think, the early 2000s, probably around this time, that Britney was going to make a guest appearance on Sex and the City as Kim Cattrall's niece. But HBO denied the reports. They said that no negotiations had ever taken place. That would have been incredible, though. Kim has claimed that Madonna was initially considered for the role of Britney's mother in Crossroads, which in a way that makes a lot of sense on like sort of a cultural level because Britney obviously cited Madonna as a huge influence. It's tough not to imagine Kim making that up, though, to make it seem like she had what it takes to be Madonna's understudy. Because I've never seen, that's the only reference to that I've ever seen was from a quote from Kim Cattrall. So take that with a grain of salt. And now back to my beloved Dan Aykroyd. He plays Britney's dad in the movie. I swear I remember him in so many more 90s kids movies as the genial dad, but I guess just my girl. He created an absurdly detailed backstory for his character. It concerned his life in the Navy. He even had a friend draw a Navy tattoo on his arm, which can be seen when he's working on the car in the garage. So that's funny.
Is that stolen valor?
What'd you say?
Is that stolen valor? Does that count if you're an actor?
No, it doesn't count.
Okay, just checking.
Are Navy tattoos, does that count as stolen valor?
If you weren't in the Navy, I'm pretty sure it does.
What are Navy tattoos? I just assumed it was like Popeye.
No, it's not. No, because sailor tattoos is like a whole genre of like shitty uninspired tattoos. You know, you've got the swallows, the stars, the anchors. But I presume
like Little Pete from Pete and Pete. What's his name? Petunia.
Yeah. I presume like he meant like the seal. I don't even. Well, who knows? Because we can't see this movie, so I don't even know what the faux tattoo is. But
but your wife's a tattoo artist, and you presumably have at least one accidental Navy tattoo snuck in there.
No, I don't think she's actually ever done any military tattoos. Maybe for moral reasons. But I guess it has to be like a Navy SEALs or some kind of like actual like insignia logo.
The more you know.
Good for Dan Aykroyd though. I'm glad he was still swinging for the fences and stupid shit like this.
Yeah, he would later admit that the only reason he took the role was because he also just wanted to meet Britney Spears. So good for him. Britney, in addition to taking an active role in getting the script together, also took an active role in the casting of her leading man, the character known only as Ben. This entailed kissing a whole lot of guys eager to play her love interest. And she would later joke, "It wasn't fun doing that." The role went to a relative unknown named Anson Mount. That's an incredible name.
Another MCU guy. Yeah, sort of. He played the lead character Black Bolt in the ABC, I want to say, series, The Inhumans, which was a weird Fantastic Four adjacent. I think they were Jack Kirby invention. Very bizarre, sort of one-off. I mean, they had a whole series, but just a weird cadre of Marvel Comics characters dating back to the 60s, including a magic bulldog. And Anson Mount played the lead, Black Bolt, whose voice is so powerful that he can atomize people with a single word. Therefore, he does not speak for 99% of the show, and he was in the most recent Doctor Strange movie. So there's another MCU thing for you. I think he was also in Hell on Wheels, which was like a short-lived AMC period drama about the expansion of the Midwest or the West.
You know a lot about Anson Mount, my friend.
For some reason, just a weird granular segment of my knowledge.
Well, did you know, for all that you know about Anson Mount, that he was initially hesitant to take on a role opposite Britney Spears in Crossroads, and he was eventually persuaded take the role in Crossroads by his co-star in a movie called City by the Sea, Robert De Niro. Robert De Niro was apparently a huge fan of Britney Spears, and he really wanted Anson Mount to take this role to the point where he even ran lines with him on set for the audition, which means, I pray there's a tape out there of Robert De Niro doing Britney's lines from Crossroads. It's perfect. It's beautiful.
Yeah, the original interview that this is from The Guardian in 2002, with the stunning headline of "Not a girl, not yet an Oscar winner."
We'll have a few references to that song in some of the reviews that we're going to quote at the end of this episode. All unkind, but all kind of funny.
Yeah, and he was like. He said, "I was reading the script for Crossroads between takes on City by the Sea, and Bob came up to me and goes, 'What are you doing?' And so I said, it's this movie and Britney Spears is doing it. I'm not even sure if I'm going to do it. I'm just reading it." And he goes, "Why not? She's great." So I showed him the script, and he read Britney's lines to my Ben. And then he added, "It wasn't the kissing scene."
Well, that's good, because Anson also did the tried and true prank on the set of Crossroads of eating garlic cloves before a kissing scene with Britney, who I guess was too polite to ever actually say anything about it, which is adorable. Leonardo DiCaprio did that too during Titanic. I guess on Kate Winslet's contract for Titanic, it was like, please don't smoke, eat garlic, and there was one other thing before, or drink coffee before kissing scenes, and he would make a point to do all three, which led to Kate Winslet dubbing him Stinky Leo.
What a little ass.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, one of the many reasons she referred to him as Stinky Leo, if I recall.
Well,
Heigl, get us out of here.
With the imprimatur of Robert De Niro, filming for Crossroads began and took 6 months. It could have been done quicker, but Britney was in the middle of recording her third album simultaneously, including I'm a Slave for You, Overprotected, and her incredible cover of I Love Rock and Roll.
Is this thing on? Oh. You didn't see it. Never mind. You don't get it.
I don't get it. Doesn't her cover like flatten out the sort of like weird timing, like mixed, not mixed meter, but the like weird syncopations that song has?
I don't think so. Oh, well,
I don't care. I don't care. I'm not investigating that. Just cut that. The song I'm not a girl, not yet a woman was originally in God, that is so fucking creepy. Who wrote that?
I think Max Martin.
Sweet.
Didn't we talk about in our AB episodes?
Max Martin,
Swedish lyricist,
Rami Yacoub, and Dido Armstrong. Oh, Dido. Fucking Dido.
Wait, what?
Yeah, she's one of the credited writers of that.
Wait, I didn't know Dido's name. It was Florian Cloud de Bonnivel O'Malley Armstrong.
No wonder she went with Dido.
There's nothing in there that slightly resembles Dido.
Yeah, Rami Yacoub is also Swedish. Palestinian, born to Palestinian parents, but Swedish.
Florian is a German man's name. That's just mean. To give your child a whole lot of odd names. They were all so embarrassing, she said. I thought it was cruel to call me Dido and then expect me to just deal with it. The name Dido derives from the legendary Queen of Carthage. It was just a childhood name, I guess.
Anyway,
that has been your Dido segment of this episode.
That song was originally intended to be on the movie soundtrack and, in fact, was the working title of the movie, Not a Girl. Also in the discarded bin was What Friends Are For. It's just also really funny to me. I can't believe I'm finally getting to this now, but that this movie shares a title with the Ralph Macchio guitar movie, Crossroads. Which is so incredible. Have you seen that movie?
I've never seen it, but I kept accidentally stumbling on it when I was researching this.
God, it whips, dude. There's a scene, the guitar duel. I implore everyone to at least just go and check out the guitar duel at the end where Steve Vai plays the Devil's guitarist. And Ralph Macchio wins by playing Paganini's Fifth Caprice, I believe, which is one of the like most played classical guitar chop busters. And then he finishes by playing a note that is not technically possible to play on a fretboard. I think it is Eric Johnson or Ry Cooder who actually overdubs that guitar solo.
I mean, this movie is basically the plot of The Devil Went Down to Georgia.
It's The Devil Went Down to Georgia meets The Karate Kid. And it is directed by Walter Hill of The Warriors and 48 Hours.
Oh.
Yeah, music by Ry Cooder. The guy who played the classical guitar on it was William Cannengeiser. No idea. Harmonica by genuine bluesman Sonny Terry. Fascinating film. Actually written by an itinerant blues musician named John Fusco. Why aren't we covering that Crossroads?
Do you want to do an other Crossroads sidebar?
I don't.
More so than you just did?
No, that's all you get. Fascinating film, Crossroads. Everyone should go and check it out. It's pretty great.
Wow, but the font on both titles are almost identical to the Britney Spears one. That's really weird.
Yeah, this guy was a student at Tisch School of the Arts where he got he won a writing competition. And his script was sold to Columbia while he was still a student. How's that make you feel?
Bad. Real bad.
Just real bad. Just not good. Ralph Macchio. Not
The Highwayman.
Not many other people in this. Based on the legend of Robert Johnson. What more do you want in a film?
I'm like unable to be like on mic right now because this is so weird.
Yeah, Ralph Macchio learned how to play some guitar. And in a hilarious image of Ralph Macchio's life at the time, he was also filming Karate Kid Part 2. So he would take guitar lessons from a guy named Arlen Roth. And then he would go and, after 2 hours of guitar lessons, then he would go and work on his karate for Karate Kid Part 2, which is essentially what I wish my life was still like.
I was going to say.
But yeah, really incredible. They were gonna have, if no one watches this movie, which I can't really good conscience suggest that you should. You should at least go and YouTube the duel scene, because they were going to actually have Ry Cooder on screen, and instead, realizing that he wasn't exactly the most cinematic guy, they were gonna either have Keith Richards, Frank Zappa, or Stevie Ray Vaughan. And then eventually they got Steve Vai in here because 80s guitar shred was a really big thing. And funnily enough, Steve Vai got his first start playing with Zappa. I think he unprompted sent him like a transcription of one of the hardest, like weirdest compositions of Zappa. And Zappa was like, I'm going to meet this kid. And funnily, I mean, now this is in a total digression, but did you ever hear the story of Steve Vai's audition with Zappa?
No.
He's told it a few times, but he went to go audition, and this is after he's done the transcription of this thing, and you know, he gets in with Zappa, and Frank's like, all right, play this, and he plays this guitar figure, and Zappa's a ripping guitarist, so like it's just really, as Steve Vai says something, he says something like, and it's this, you know, bizarre, ridiculous thing, like in his own idiosyncratic style, and I listen to it and I go, okay, and then okay, now play it in 7. And I go, okay, played in 7. He goes, now play it in 7/8 reggae, and he just keeps putting new wrinkles onto this original figure, and eventually, and Steve Vai is like, and you know, and this goes on for like 15 or 20, 25 minutes, and it gets to the point where it's this absurd thing that should never be played by anyone ever and is physically impossible. And I said, Frank, I can't. Like, I can no longer play this the way that you are trying to get me to do so. And Frank says, well, I hear Linda Ronstadt is looking for a guitarist.
Friend of the pod, Dora, will like that story. Wow, that's so good.
Yeah, what a dick. But he would apparently do that. He had all these things. He had all these things with his band where he would like signal on stage. I'm not a big Frank Zappa guy, but I know some of the. I've listened. I
play
like some
one
of
on
it.
TMI.
Yeah, he would do these signals on stage that were like, okay, now for this next transition, we're going into a reggae feel or like a Latin feel, and they would just have to shift on the fly. I mean, being in that band was like being in James Brown's band, just a nightmare of high wire musicianship.
Was that documentary that came out a few years ago any good?
You know, I didn't watch it. I
tried to and I fell asleep, but I don't remember if it was my fault or it.
There's someone's quote I always see on Twitter that goes around whenever Zappa comes up, which is, there's nothing wrong with a little Frank Zappa, but there's a lot wrong with a lot of Frank Zappa.
That's really good.
Yeah. Anyway, this concludes your sidebar on Crossroads, the other Crossroads. I'm
just so glad that we went from Britney Spears to Frank Zappa, and I didn't even know it was happening. It happened so quick. That is the TMI promise. That You're not going to get that. You're not going to get that with. I don't even know what other shows would be doing this.
Blank Check, the Blank Check podcast. Those rubes.
We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be right back with more Too Much Information in just a moment.
The hospital scenes in Crossroads were filmed at the North Hollywood Medical Center, the same setting as the TV show Scrubs, where they also filmed episodes of The Sopranos, Freaks and Geeks, The Office, and Charmed, among many other things. Sadly, demolished in 2011, and a fire. How does this work when you accidentally set a fire while you're trying to demolish something?
I just call that laziness. We're tearing it down. It burned down. Oh, son of a bitch.
Yeah, it's an OSHA violation, whatever it is. No, they were welders were working at the site, and some I guess molten welding materials fell down an elevator shaft and set fire to all the elevator shaft
greasy racks that were
stuff. Yeah, whatever, and started a fire. And I guess you don't want to have your building on fire when you're demolishing it. Maybe you do. Who's to say? I'm not a professional building demolisher. Not yet. Most of the film was shot in Hammond, Louisiana, not far from Britney's hometown of Kentwood. The citizens of Hammond were reportedly not told that filming was happening, which led to surreal instances of randomly spotting the then biggest pop star on the planet just out and about. There's a great story of how the leads were being filmed in their 1973 Buick Skylark convertible, great car, when a stray dog jumped out in front of them. Taryn Manning jumped out to retrieve it. The camera truck did not stop. So suddenly Britney Spears, Zoe Saldana, Taryn Manning, and Anson Mount are cruising the back roads of Louisiana with a stray dog. Friend of the pod. Stray Louisiana dog. Naturally, people start to gather, and there is no security. And at this point, word of mouth had spread news of the production. The set was swarmed with fans, and the movie's insurance bond company was so concerned about paparazzi that they would keep changing the working title of the film on shooting permits to keep photographers off the track of filming locations. Funnily enough, Britney Spears wears a sweatshirt for Southern University throughout the film and on the poster. Costumer Wendy Schechter found the shirt at an LA thrift store, explaining Britney's character Lucy is a college-oriented girl. Casting call went out for a college-oriented girl.
Yeah,
What does that
when they
mean?
were talking about how Britney developed all the characters, I guess that's the best they got.
She's college-oriented. Also, Southern University, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But what's Northern University? What's West Coast University? Are their universities just named for like massive
vague
regions of the
geographic
country?
locations,
Yeah.
yeah.
Floribama University.
Salt Life University.
That's a great shirt. Southern University, though, is a predominantly African-American school in Baton Rouge, making it unlikely that the college-oriented Lucy would have attended, regardless of her orientation towards college. But the school enjoyed the publicity. Chancellor Edward Jackson approved of the shirt's usage and said that they were tickled pink. The fact that we're African-American makes little difference. The school's bookstore saw sales of Southern University clothing items jump drastically as a result of this free publicity. Hilarious. Britney, by all accounts, was a delight on the set, and nowhere near the diva that she then had every right to be. Though her contract stipulated trailers, personal trainers, producer Ann Carley says the team was very understanding of Crossroads' small budget. Britney reportedly only had 2 requests while she was on set. I'm sorry, I almost gagged. Tuna Lunchables and edamame?
I need to make sure that that's a thing and not like 3
I don't think
things.
tuna Lunchables are a thing. Tuna is like canned tuna fish, comma, Lunchables, and edamame. I don't think there was a prepackaged tuna fish Lunchables. in their
You're right.
range.
Well, there is, but it's not Lunchables brand. It's like Starkist to go. Okay, now I got to Google tuna Lunchables Britney Spears, which I really don't want to have to do, but I'm gonna. Yeah, okay. That's what I'm seeing. Tuna Lunchables.
That's not a thing.
I mean, in the Vice article that interviewed Shonda Rhimes and the director, tuna
All right,
Lunchables.
look, I'm going to the Lunchables wiki.
Okay.
Not an option.
Ever?
There were no tuna Lunchables produced.
30 different kinds of meal variety combinations. Surely there's got to be.
No.
You're supposed to say, don't call me Shirley.
We got to update your references.
I mean, I talked about Stalin earlier instead of Putin. What do you expect?
I'm telling you, dude, there's no damn...
Tweet at us.
There's no... That's a syntax error that they did not fact check. I'm calling it out now. Recently decimated by layoffs. Vice News. I hope all of you have found jobs, but this is sloppy journalism. The quote should have been tuna, comma, Lunchables, comma, and edamame. This is why copy editors were a thing for decades.
They put it on the deck of the post, and they also put it on their social post, too. Britney Spears loves tuna Lunchables and more secrets from the making of Crossroads.
Well, whoever was working at Vice in March of 2016, you really fell asleep on the fucking job, guys. I'm sorry. How simple would it have been to visit the Lunchables wiki? That took me 30 seconds. Jesus Christ, I weep for the state of journalism 7 years ago. And also now. You're hearing it here first, folks. Britney's diet on the set of Crossroads was tuna, probably Starkist, possibly chicken of the sea, we don't know. They bungled that as a follow-up question. Comma, Lunchables, we don't know what kind of Lunchables. I'm going to go ahead and say ham and cheese or possibly pizza, comma, and edamame. Where were we? Oh, yeah. She also had production pick her up a half hour early each day so she could go to Starbucks and get coffee. Producer Ann Carley offered to have the coffee waiting for her on set when she arrived, and Britney said, I don't mind. I actually like going in and getting to decide.
Oh, that's heartbreaking. That's really sad.
Britney spent much of her free time on the set hanging out with her then boyfriend, Justin Timberlake, a frequent visitor to the set. By all accounts, their love was genuine and adorable. During rehearsals, director Tamara Davis asked Britney to doodle in her notebook as though she were Lucy. She wrote Britney and Justin over and over again and covered the book in butterflies and hearts. It was just the most beautiful relationship, seeing the two of them together and how lovey they were, Davis said. They were just so close, and she was just such a supporter of his. He worked just as hard as her. It was like she would be doing rehearsals and he would be doing rehearsals. They really knew that life together. Tamara Davis still owns that notebook, thus fulfilling our "it belongs in a museum" quotient for the episode.
Yeah, there's also a point in Crossroads when the three leading ladies sing Bye Bye Bye, which is cute because it's a Justin Timberlake song. Well, it's not just a Timberlake song. It's an NSYNC song. Crossroads opened on February 15th, 2002, and made $14 million that weekend, recouping more than its $12 million budget. There was, however, a minor controversy when Britney supposedly snubbed fans waiting to see her at the London premiere. She apparently blew right by them. Her management claimed that it was only because of a safety issue that she didn't stop and hang out. In total, Crossroads earned its budget back 5 times over, bringing in $61 million. So that's good, right? You know, we love that for her. We could say, right? Like, you know, this thing's still on. But it wasn't all sunny days and frappuccinos and Pepsi for dear sweet Britney. Despite the strong...
It wasn't all Star-Kissed and pizza Lunchables. God, you can really take the South out of it. You can't take the South out of the girl.
Despite the strong numbers at the box office, Crossroads received a critical drubbing. What can you receive a drubbing for something that's not critical? Like, you know, I feel like I only hear it.
That's a great question. What is the etymology of drubbing?
A dressing down? I was going to look up the meaning of yikes earlier too, but I didn't. But now I feel like
interesting.
I should.
Drub. Early 17th century, probably from the Arabic daraba, to beat. The first recorded uses in English are by travelers in the Near East, specifically referring to physical punishment.
Semi-related, yikes is likely derived from yoiks, a hunting call used to urge hounds after a fox from the mid-1700s. Someone's going to win pub trivia because of that, because they heard it on here. If anyone has gotten a trivia question right in pub trivia because something to learn on here, please tweet at us. That would make me so happy.
Once again, I'm at Alex_Heigl. Jordan is Jordan Runtagh. Runtagh. We are reachable and eager to talk.
Oh, you can spell my name right. Oh my God. That's very touching. Everyone wants to add an extra U in there. Runtaugh. Thank you.
Oh, like Lucy when Charlie pulls when she pulls the football out. That's like right?
Yes.
That's my archaic pop culture reference. God, we just weren't made for these times. And there's your Beach Boys
thank
reference.
You.
Yes, son of a bitch.
Crossroads was mostly criticized for Britney's acting, which I think is unfair, and was frequently compared to Mariah Carey's movie from the year before, Glitter. It's nominated for 8 Razzies, Crossroads was. It has a 3.6 rating on IMDb out of over 41,000 votes, and it also has a 15% score on Rotten Tomatoes based on 105 reviews. I went through and read them all prior to taping, and they're pretty savage. Richard Roeper is quoted as saying, "She's not yet an actress, not quite a singer." Oh. John McEwen wrote, "Spears' technique indicates she's a graduate of the Brady Bunch Acting Academy." Oh. James Sanford of the Kalamazoo Gazette says Crossroads comes off like a rejected ABC after-school special, freshened up by the dunce of a screenwriting 101 class. Provokes a handful of unintentional howlers and numerous yawns. You read the last two.
Ian Mantgani wrote, a bizarre piece of work with premise and dialogue at the level of kids' television and plot threads as morose as teen pregnancy, rape, and suspected murder. That's accurate.
Yeah, I mean, that's what's so weird about it, is that, like...
And not unfair.
Yeah.
Why Britney's management team would allow her to make such a depressing movie is beyond me. The story is about miserable people who lead miserable lives. Oh, that's me. That was Mike McGranahan from Aisle Seat. Again, not incorrect.
But in any event, we've never cared about reviews on this show, and we're sure as hell not going to start now. As executive producer for MTV Films, David Gale says, girls really liked it. If you were a teenage girl at that time, the movie was really relatable in a fantasy-ish kind of way.
Was it?
Driving across the country in a yellow, what was it, Dodge? Plymouth?
63 Buick Skylark.
Oh, Buick Skylark. Yes.
With a suspected murderer, your best friend who's been raped, your other one who was given up for adoption. Good Lord. How was that relatable? Who would say that? Also, we didn't talk about the karaoke scene.
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah. I don't know if there's a lot there.
Is there a lot of there?
I know you love rock and roll, so let's... Yeah, it goes down when Britney's character and her friends are at a karaoke bar. Britney said, they asked me to sing karaoke in the movie Crossroads, and I've actually sung I Love Rock and Roll in a lot of clubs that I've been to. So that's authentic. Again, so much of this movie is authentic.
Authenticity, really the watchword of this film.
I mean, I do wonder if they were shooting for some kind of like 8 Mile like thing where it's like this is taken from Britney's life, and then midway through the movie, maybe when they were shooting, it's like, oh, maybe we should try to like back off on this because she's got a lot of young fans, but they were stuck with a script that was already pretty gritty, so they just like tried to water it down just a little bit, and then you got this weird mishmash of tones.
Well, none other than Miley Cyrus mentioned that this scene was hugely formative for her. She told Variety, you should have seen my face when Britney covered I Love Rock and Roll in Crossroads. I melted down. That scene was the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit all in one room. I actually lost my mind. That was worlds colliding beyond what I could have ever dreamed of. Oh, yeah, shockingly, incredibly poetic words from Miley Cyrus.
Isn't she like really tight with Joan Jett?
Yeah. Actually, one of the coolest thing to my mind that Miley ever did was invite Laura Jane Grace of Against Me and Joan Jett into her backyard to cover the Replacements' Androgynous, which is like a really beautiful song from Let It Be, the Replacements album. Really like very sensitively portrayed weird little character sketch about non-binary people. But yeah, Joan Jett and Miley are like our friends.
Isn't it cool when like normie seeming pop figures have like really good, really deep, really weird taste in music? I love that. It makes me so happy.
Yeah, or at least use their largesse to, if a Miley Cyrus fan Googled Against Me and started listening to that as a result of that, that's great. That's a net positive. Joan later told NME, the British music outlet, I've never even heard Britney's version. I mean, I've heard about it, but I never understood that whole idea. People usually cover a song that says something about them, but I doubt she loves rock and roll. Aww. Maybe she likes songs.
Wow. I mean,
Savage.
I've interviewed Joan Jett, and she doesn't seem to have a mean bone in her body. I genuinely think she was like reaching around for like some honest but kind thing to say, and like that was the best she got.
Maybe she likes songs.
Doesn't Taylor Swift love like Megadeth or something? There's some metal band that she loves. Maybe it was Iron Maiden.
Well, who among us?
Well, back to Crossroads, the producer Ann Carley, who kind of kicked the whole thing off, said that she contrasted Crossroads with less earnest movies like Mean Girls and Clueless. She said, Crossroads wasn't snarky. There's no snarkiness whatsoever. We weren't ashamed to be corny. corny would maybe have been somebody else's judgment of it, but we weren't afraid to be heartfelt. We didn't need to be smarter than anybody else. Young women, they're surrounded by judgment and snarkiness, so it was important for us to show the ups and downs of real relationships. And for years, there were rumors of a potential sequel, and Ann Carly has said, we've actually talked about it a little bit in a weird way. There's a lot of people involved, and they're really busy, though. Who knows? I think it could be a lot of fun, but everyone's in different places, from Taryn to Zoe to Britney to Shonda. Shonda Rhimes, who now has a $1 billion TV empire to worry about, has kind of diplomatically backed off from the whole idea in the nicest way possible. She said, it's 20-something years later. I don't know about Crossroads 2 and what that would be, but I would work with that group of people again. Absolutely. So that's nice. And Britney made a reference to the movie in a video for a 2011 song, I Wanna Go, when the camera moves past a theater marquee that reads, Crossroads 2, Cross Harder. And if a lame sequel joke isn't a good place to end on, I don't know what is, damn it.
Folks, thank you for listening. This has been Too Much Information. I'm Alex Heigl.
And I'm Jordan Runtagh. We'll catch you next time. Too Much Information was a production of iHeart Radio.
The show's executive producers are Noel Brown and Jordan Runtagh.
The show's supervising producer is Michael Alder June.
The show was researched, written, and hosted by Jordan Runtagh and Alex Heigl.
With original music by Seth Applebaum and the Ghost Funk Orchestra. If you like what you heard, please subscribe and leave us a review. For more podcasts on iHeart Radio, visit the iHeart Radio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.